Hi, this is David, coming to you live from our luxurious back porch studio here. We're going to talk a little bit about strokes today. And on April 6th of this year, 2021, I broke my brain. Well, strictly speaking, I didn't break my brain. It sort of broke itself, meaning I had a stroke. What we're going to be discussing over the next few episodes here is my journey through having a stroke and recovery. This is my experience, my opinions. I am not a doctor. I did not go to medical school, so I am not giving out medical advice or legal advice. Please understand that. It's very important. But we want to talk about strokes and maybe what to look for if you could be having a stroke, because it's very important to know these symptoms to get help fast, because it could save your life. You know, you have to stay upbeat in life, and you have to find humor in everything, otherwise it'll get you down. So if you appreciate or you like what we're talking about here, hit the subscribe button and the like button. That helps my channel very much. And there should be a little notification bell there too that you can hit, and we'll let you know when the next episode comes out. So we'd like for you to stick with us and follow what we're doing here on the channel. As I said, on April 6th, I had a significant stroke. I was at work on April 5th and I did not feel right. Didn't feel good. My vision was blurry. Not double vision, which I came to find out later is a symptom that you'll want to be aware of. But I am diabetic, so I checked my blood sugar and it was very high. It was almost 400 that day, which is pretty high. And it can cause me to have blurred vision. I assume it can cause other people to as well. But I didn't think much about it. I just figured I was, having a bad day with my diabetes. So I went home at the end of the day. I got home and I was kind of stumbling a little bit. My wife was very concerned and she was like, "Are you having a stroke?" Of course, I'm like, "No, I'm not having a stroke. I'm just not feeling good. I'm going to bed." So I did just that. I went to bed and got up the next morning. Was still, my coordination and balance was still not good. So I called into work and stayed home. And I just took it easy that day. Just kind of hung out around the house, watched some TV, sat on the porch, and just did nothing basically. About 3:30 in the afternoon, I had gone back to our bedroom. I was going to go to the bathroom. I was standing next to the dresser, and all of a sudden I was on the floor. My legs gave out and I was down. So I was able to get myself back over to the bed and pulled myself up. I went out to the room where my wife was working, and I said, "Hey, something's up. We need to go to the hospital." And we immediately left the house and went to the hospital. And when we got to the ER, my wife went in and told them what she suspected was going on. They came right out, got me out of the car, and wheeled me in. I went through triage, and I had a lot of people coming to talk to me, asking me to do different things, touch my nose, touch their finger, that kind of thing. And I was able to do that at that point without a lot of difficulty. But it wasn't quite as straightforward as it would have been normally. After a short while, they sent me for a CT scan, and a CT scan of the head is very quick. It just takes a couple minutes. You lay down on the scanner bed, and they slide you in, and they do what's called a non-contrast scan of your head, which means they don't give you any x-ray dye for it, at least for the part that I had. And after that was done, I went back over to a kind of a holding area, and a little bit later on they took me for an MRI. I had never had an MRI. I was a little bit nervous about that, because I'm a pretty big guy, and those MRI scanners are pretty small. But they kind of wedged me in there, and getting your head in there is kind of tough, because you have to lay it back in a little hollowed out place. They had headphones on me so I could listen to music, and then they slide this cage over my head. If I wasn't claustrophobic before, I was at that point, because I was stuck in there, I'll tell you what. And so they slid me in. I guess the whole thing probably took about 40 or 45 minutes. And but I got through it. It was a little disconcerting, but I got through it. They took me back to the little holding area again, and a little bit later on they moved me from there into a little room in the ER, where I had to crawl up on a stretcher, and I was just laying there by myself. finally, a couple hours later, they let my wife come in with me. And shortly after that, a neurologist came in to tell me what was going on. And he said, well, the good news is your CT is clear, but unfortunately your MRI is not. You've had a stroke. In fact, you've had like 4 strokes. So they weren't sure what was going on. My blood pressure was very high. It was in the 200s over the 120s, and it was over 150 at one point. So that's high blood pressure like that is very dangerous. It's a very concerning sign that you could have another stroke, and they were worried about that. The type of stroke I had is called an ischemic stroke, which means lack of blood supply. So I sent some clots showering up to my brain, which blocked the arteries to certain parts back there in the back of my head, and that's what caused mine. The other type of stroke is called a hemorrhagic stroke, and that's where you actually bleed into the tissue of the brain. Both of them are bad. Neither one of them is not a better kind of stroke to have. They're both bad, and they can both be equally devastating. People said, oh, I had a stroke, and I'm fine, there's no problem. You can have what are called TIAs, which are transient ischemic attacks, which are also called mini strokes sometimes. And yes, those are typically not as serious or not as devastating as a full-on stroke like what I had. Now you may be wondering why I know so much about this. For the last 25 years, I've worked in radiology. In the last several years, I've actually worked in neuro and interventional radiology, where in neuroradiology, we actually work with a lot of stroke patients. We deal with a lot of procedures in the brain where we get access through the femoral artery and go up with a small catheter. And in the case of strokes, we can actually, in some cases, go up and suck the clot out if it's in a place that we can get to it and it's not too far out. Mine was very far out. I'm sure I was not even a candidate to have that procedure done. The other treatment that if you're there in time, if they catch it within a short period, like 3 hours, they can give you what's known as TPA. And that TPA stands for tissue plasminogen activator. And what that is, that's known as the clot busting drug. And they actually say if they get to you in time and administer TPA, it can actually reverse the stroke 100%. I was outside that window. I was not a candidate for that as well, unfortunately. That's what happened with me. Talk more about what happened once I got upstairs in the hospital and what took place over the next few days and the next few weeks, because I spent a month in inpatient rehab. I'm going to talk about the symptoms of a stroke. So the big things to pay attention of are worst headache of your life. That is a major indicator that doesn't go away. Blurry vision or double vision is something to be aware of. In my case, I had weakness on the left side, and there's an acronym. It's FAST, F-A-S-T, and what that stands for is face, arms, smile, and tongue. So if someone you love or a friend or whatever, you think they may be having a stroke, have them look at you. Look at their face. Make sure that it looks the same on both sides and neither side is drooping. Because if one side is drooping, if the right side is drooping, there could be something going on the left side of the brain, because the left side controls the right side of the brain controls the left side of your body. A stands for arms. If you hold your arms out in front of you, you want to be able to hold them steady. If one arm droops, you can't hold it up, that's a good indication that there's something going on in the brain. S is for smile. Have someone smile and make sure that they can smile fully. And again, it's not turned down or it's not droopy on one side. And the last one is tongue. Have them stick their tongue out at you. And it should be the same all the way across, not one side, doing something weird or turned down. Those are 4 of the big signs of a stroke. If any of that's going on, do not wait. Call 911 immediately and get to the hospital, because trust me, your life can depend on it. Okay, that's about enough for today. We'll stop there, but we will be back, and I want to bring you some more information about what I've been through in my journey through having this stroke and my road to recovery. Once again, I am not a doctor, so don't take anything I say as medical advice, other than if you feel this coming on, call 911. It's very important. So thanks for coming by. I really appreciate you coming and watching my video. Again, click subscribe and like if you are interested in what we're doing here. That'll help me out. And I will be back with more, so stay tuned. There'll be more of this, and we'll get into more about what happened and about learning to go through rehabilitation. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate you being here.